Well, this is Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and we are working on this Tikkun, and we are trying to elevate ourselves into the world beyond. Be the glory of Hashem. So over here, we've been in this conversation about what happened with Nadav and Avihu, because that's a very important part of our Parsha. This is the Parsha Shemini, and today's the 5th day. It's a day of HOD, and as Harry Truman said, the buck stops here. This is the fifth sphera, the goof of Zeranpin, remembering that the 6th sphera, which is Yesod, is a pool of all of the illuminations, the radiances that are coming from the other 5, and that Malchus, which is the 7th sphera, is actually the pool that holds that the radiance of the pool of Yesod flows into that. So that's HOD in position. So we had this situation about Nadav and Avihu, and Rebbe Elazar spoke, and he said, you know, what I took from it was, he said that this was the concept of pure maleness. And I consider this to be, you know, you were not supposed to say this or what, but this is an indication of homosexuality, because in other words, the dominance of the male. That the male is a perfect specimen. This is what I took from it. What you might have taken might be something different. I don't know. But anyway, he said that it was an avodah zarah. There was a klipa that was involved in it, and I'm thinking that's what it is. This pure self-gratification. But now we're coming over here, and we're on page Taf Samach Hey, and what we want to see here is another side. And it comes down here. I'm just going to read this. I'm going to read not the up part, but just the up and the bottom, because we have a little bit of a ground to cover here today. So it says, Rabbi Pinchas. So Rabbi Pinchas now said to Rebbe Elazar is going to answer him back, according to that answer where he hinted of a very serious tumah that was involved with Nadav and Avihu. Lo tamed the imin sh'ara lo labar. Don't say the way he said it. Al tomer shehem, that is hishkino osa b'chutz, that they actually turned their back, so to speak, and shoved malchus away. In other words, an active act. He said, lo shehem b'yadayim, it's not true that with their hands, so to speak, garmo levato as yichud zoom, that they actually did not want a yichud between opposites. The lahamshik, it's a klipa, and that as a result of that, what they wanted to do was bring in a klipa instead. Kehem choy tzaddikim, that's not true, he said, because these people were tzaddikim gemurim. And they didn't do this. This is not their intention at all. But what it is, and this is the halacha as we know it. But through Nadav and Avihu, this is with the pshat. You could not make a yichud zochar v'nuk. Why? Because whenever you see a situation where there is not male and female, then the Knesset Yisrael is not there automatically. Knesset Yisrael is Malchus. So when you don't have male and female, you will not have the Shekhinah in that game. It will not be there, because it needs that situation, male by himself, and go on. Begin kach az v'kahanim. So therefore, there's a warning here to kahanim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu warned them as a kahanim, the kahanim. They said bezos yavu aron ala kodesh. A very important phrase. Using this word bezos. Zois means this. Who's the this? Who's the designated one? Malchus is the goal. She is the one. He said, well, let me say, who are you? Let me say, bezos yavu she yached as zos. You should make a yichud, a zivug, between zos and malchus and zer anpin. That's what you have to be able to do. Who are you? The yishtakach dacha v'nukfa. And that's what it means. These two opposite things that are not like each other, but are part of each other. The Kudsha, The Yisnase, okay, lo yakanis a Kohen Gadol, so this is why we have the rule that the Kohen Gadol must be married. The Kali, the Kodesh Kadosh, and he needs to enter into the most inside relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu possible. Ad Sheyisa Isha, unless he is married. So that's why if you look at the first, I think it's the first Mishnah, or first parak in Masechtas Yuma, where it talks about the ascendancy of what happens if the Kohen Gadol loses his wife. He says the Knesset, so he said, I must have missed something. He said, begin the Yishtatef. Let me just, in order to make a partnership or weld together the Kishura, the Knesset with a knot. Knesset Yisrael Kadesh Yishtatef the Kesher of the Yichud, so to make a knot, a binding of Yichud, the Yichud of Malchus and Zeranpin. This is the ultimate goal of the Kohen Gadol of all Kohanim, is to sweeten dinim and make it possible for the two to come together. Demandalo in Shari law the Kadesh Labar. Because a person, this is what he said, and I'm sorry that this is strong language for those of us who are not married. But he said, now think about it, and as Rav Shik said, sometimes you have to step down to take a wife. Because of the way that men are, we're always looking at Bina, just our nature. We look at our mothers, so to speak. And then we have to make ourselves realize there's another aspect of ourselves which is also female, not a mother. That's the one that contends with you. Because a person doesn't marry a woman who mashkim as a malchus b'chutz. What he's doing is causing malchus to wait outside. Now this is a problem for all men, because men represents the vav between the two hays. And the hay on the top is the mother's, everything that you ever dreamed of or wanted in terms of comfort. But the one down below is the one that reproduces. And that's the one that we have to create with. But she doesn't make a yichur with him. So she doesn't actually make a partnership, a unity, and joins together with Zer Anpin through this Kohen who is not married. And that is the reason why, since they came to offer, and they weren't married, and they weren't bringing the Zois, that's the reason why it brought this chaos. Now this is Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair speaking to his grandson Rabbi Lezer, and we leave it for others to listen. 1 second, let me see if I can get organized. I'm going to close this down for a second, just stop the tape. Okay, so I just want to go over where we're going now. So the Zohar says like this, we're going to read this first, and then we'll come and read the top part of the Zohar and see what we could fill in with the Matuk B'Navash. So now we're going to get a comment by Rabbi Yossi. It's going to be down here. So he says, Hine Rabbi Yossi b'mayim Rabbah, so what we're about to learn here, Rotzel l'tzeis tam, he wants to give a reason, Lama, why it is that on Yom Simchas HaKamas HaMishkan, this is an obvious question. This is the greatest day. This is actually the wedding of Kudsha Baruch Hu V'Shchinta. It's going to take place right at that Mishkan. Why you had to mix into that? HaKamas HaMishkan, this Arba, it gets wildly mixed into with that Simcha, Ayedecha B'Mises B'nei Adam, because Aaron. How is it that on day of say such elevation that you should have this tragedy taking place at the same time? And he explains this. And he says it's because Malchus was, I don't know if he means originally or at this moment, between the klipos, hanikros, chuchim, which are called thorns. So that Malchus, he's saying like this, the Kohen has to bring the Malchus from the Shmutz. And these guys couldn't do it, as we had the explanation, because they were not male and female. They were only male. So that would be an idea. We said, well, the male takes the female, but you're skipping a step. And so that's what a Bebein HaKlipos, because Malchus is still in the Klipos between the thorns. And as this is happening, then the dinim, the problems in the world are multiplying. Now remember Zois, the concept Zois, the Malchus is directly exposed to the problems in the world. Malchus is the giver of a bracha, and Malchus is the receiver of pain. So now all of this is why what he just said was that because this is a day that the dinim grow, because Malchus is still not brought out of the klipa. Now that's the end of that. Now let's see what the Zohar actually say. Let's see if I can read the top and then come back to the Matok Medavas Ebash, and let me just make sure I got best I can do on the line. Okay, let me see, turn this slightly. See how it goes. So the Zohar says like the Vihi B'Yom Shemini, on the 8th day, this is the day of the Miluyim of the Kohanim. Rabbi Yosef Pasuk Vom, Rabbi Yosef began and he said, Keshoshana bein achochim, kein rayase bein abanos. So like the rose between the thorns that lives within thorns, so is my lover, that I chose my lover between the rest of the women. Keshoshana bein achochim. So this is like a what? This is like a rose between the thorns that's stuck around thorns. Dal Knesset Yisrael. Who is this rose? This is Malchus. The whole Malchus, as I said before, that Malchus is in the middle of the Shmutz. The whole Malchus, the Kudra Baruch, the Shabach, the Knesset, so that we see the Kudra Baruch is praising over here. The Knesset Yisrael. The Chidivusa, the Kudra Baruch, the Kiblachol is Dabkava. And what is it that a Kodesh Baruch Hu, in this particular case he means Zer Anpin, because he's talking about the giver. It's called a Kodesh Baruch Hu. He says that this giver, which is Zer Anpin, he has a tremendous love for Malchus. The Kodesh Baruch Hu, the Kiblachol is Dabkava. So he wants to bring her to receive her, or to be in with her, and to cling to her. So therefore a man who is married, a boy, he has to give tremendous, I'm trying to get that blanket on the word, he has to give something praise, there it is, boy, he has to give tremendous praise to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Think about this, he's talking to us. He's talking to us who are married to someone who is our opposite and does not think like we do. The boy l'shavka the Kodesh Baruch Hu, he has to give praise except the boy l'shavka the Knesset and also give praise to Malchus. Now here he's talking about you down here on earth have to realize what's going on up above. So the hard to mean, because we learn like this, because everything you have to be able to see what is necessary to be done. He said, the ihu barnash is the bazuge. So this he explained it now a little bit better. He says just like a man has to cling to his wife, the ihu barnash mizdavek bebazuge, he clings to his wife, and what he really wants more than anything else is to be a part with her, part himself into her. So when he comes to pray before the Malka Kadisha, who is Achra. So this person, he's saying like this, what you're acting out, what you do in this world in regards to your Bas Zuge, that is your wife, what you do and give to her is reflected in the next world. Who is Zivuge Achra, it causes another Ziva. Which Ziva? The Ziva with Zohar Shemini Olam Atzilus. This is you down here with your feet on the ground. Because the Kodesh Baruch Hu, what his main thing that he loves is his woman. He wants to be one with her. Knesset Yisrael, that is Davka Knesset Yisrael, to cling to Knesset Yisrael. The reminder is Ayin Mila, so a person that arouses, I'm not sure what Mila means here. So that's what he says. So now I understand. A person in his prayers that has the kavanah, that what he is actually doing when he's praying is he is building up his nukva, which is the same idea, building up the female aspect. You have to think about this, what it really, this is my understanding. Okay, somebody else will understand this completely different, because I'm Ashkenaz, and this is the way my brain works. My brain tells me that as you build up your nukva, This is what the Zohar is telling us. You have to bring her sweetness. You have to bring her things to make her sweet. Her life is she is the Shoshana Bein HaChuchim. She is the Shana between the thorns. And it's not easy out there. And your job is to bring her sweetness. So I just heard we're talking about this Garden of Peace, which is a book that really meant a lot to me at one time, as far as my relationship with my wife. And that these people are really trying to learn the pattern of Zeranpin and his Nukva. Because here's what he says, Mandis Amila, so because you can cause the Kutra Barichum Mevarachle, the cause of the Zivug of Zohar V'no, that Zohar will come back and bring the brachas back right into you, Knesset Yisrael Mevarachle, and then also Knesset Yisrael will bless him also. For how Ibn says, stay like that. The real praise of the Kodesh Baruch Hu, which is the male aspect. And understand that this runs panini to us, the male aspect. The Kodesh Baruch Hu, the Meshabach Lal, the Knesset Yisrael, is to come and bring his praise to Malchus. Because she is like the rose that we sang before, is between the thorns. She actually, because of this, she has the ability to go up on top of everything. Because Malchus is in some way a duplication of Bina. Bina is the first hay. So you have hay down below. That hay down below has its feet, metaphorically, on the karka oilam, on the ground that we live in. So he said, the Ihi Malia the Salka al Kula, she's a tremendous value, tremendously powerful. Because now, when Malchus finds herself amongst the Chuchim, the Goyim, we're living amongst them, begin the he Salka Misatr, because she has the ability. And then we're talking about Kohanim, and Kohanim have to be male and female, and the whole idea here is to build up the Malchus, if you know the Rishash. And you see that's it. I'm saying I know the Rishash, I'm trying to learn the Rishash. So it says that you see the Rishash, he's all, the whole davening is about building up the Nukva, Zeranpin, all the things that we talked about before, and that also translates into this world. Because the main thing the male aspect wants is the Davda Pekadesis was the Klinter. So we read this, I guess we read this, Uman Desar Mila, Kutra Barichum, the Barachlai, Kutra Baruch, who comes back, and the Knesset Yisrael, the Barachlai, and the Knesset Yisrael, which is Malchus blesses him, but this is a life of blessing. Those who work for Yichud of Zohar B'no. So the came to Vishal Kodesh Baruch Achavasa v'Chivasa Knesset Yisrael. So since HaKodesh Baruch Hu has a tremendous joy, a tremendous love for the Knesset of Malchus, the Chen Shvacha the Kutra Baruch Hu, the Meshavech Lal the Knesset. So therefore the praise of HaKodesh Baruch Hu is being praised to Malchus. That is the shevach that he gives to her, who this is the whole idea of building her up because she's stuck in the middle of the shmutz. Like that. Because you could say that there's different, rose somewhere else. There may be, out here. This is the ultimate rose. This is the rose of Malchus. This Malchus is in that place. Any other Malchus, any other flower, not Malchus, any other flower. It's not like this one. So he says, so this is the same thing by Malchus. As you see her amongst the host of all of the rest of the kingdoms and so on and so forth, or malachim, or angels. Because next to Malchus, none of these things really matter. Now here he's telling us, because I always think in terms of marriages. I was a counselor at one time, or I was supposed to be anyway, and I think about this all the time. And here he's saying, it's just like this Rabbi Arush, writing in from a brotherly perspective. He's saying the main goal, main purpose of the man is to give to his wife to sweeten her life, to build it up. That builds up his life because she gets stronger. She protects herself. She protects him. She protects the children. She does all of these different things. It's opposites dealing with opposites, so it's not easy. Begin to he salka. Miss Atra, because what happens is that she has the ability to be able to go up, to rise up tremendously, on top of everything. And this is your Shoshana, your final letter, Hey. She has an ability to rise beyond Zoranpin and go all the way and join herself to Bina. The Isrog Beinachochin, it's also called the Esrog, between the thorns, because the Matuk says that it grows on a tree full of thorns. And this is really to demonstrate that ultimately all of this which is pushed down and down below and down below and down below, that takes care of the kids and washes the floors and takes care of the clothing, there's all this stuff which is no praise, that is the object of our praise. Tochazi, come and see. Knesset Yisrael is Baruch or Yidal the Kahana. It's the Kohen. Now we're going back here. The way that Malchus actually gets her brachos, her blessing, is through the Kohen. V'Yisrael mizbarchim ayudei the Kahana. Also the Jewish people, meaning Zeranpin, also blessed through the Kahana, the Kohen. The Kahana mizbarcha ayudei the Kahana law, but there's a higher level of chesed. And the Kohen that is living in this world and bringing about brachos and peace as much as he possibly can, Mizbarcha Yidad the Kahana Yilua, he is blessed, because it's an attachment to a Kohen even beyond that. I recommend to you the Sifra Ditznilta that we're learning right now with the Gra. It's very, very deep in space, in the space of Kedusha. So this is the meaning of this idea. V'samu Shemi al Bnei Yisrael, put my name on the Jewish people, V'ani avarchem. What name is that? That's the name of Kudsha Baruch V'shkitei. Altogether. That's Baruch Fleischman here, speaking on behalf of the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, this 5th day of the week of Parsha Shemini, today's HOD.